The Discourses of Christ of the Last Days.
The path of resolving a corrupt disposition. No matter what you're doing, you must learn how to seek and submit to the truth. No matter who is offering you advice, if it accords with the truth principles, then even if it comes from a small child, you must accept it and submit to it. No matter what problems a person has, if their words and advice completely accord with the truth principles, then you should accept them and submit to them. The results of acting in this way will be good and in accordance with God's will. The key is to look at your motives and the principles and methods by which you handle things. If your principles and methods for handling things stem from human will, from human thoughts and notions, or from satanic philosophies, then those principles and methods are impractical, and they are bound to be ineffective. This is because the source of your principles and methods is incorrect and does not accord with the truth principles. If your views are based upon the truth principles, and you handle things according to the truth principles, then you will undoubtedly handle them in the correct way. Even if some people do not accept the way that you handle things at the time, or they have notions about it, or they are resistant toward it, after some time, it will be validated. Things that are in accordance with the truth principles yield increasingly positive results, while things that are not in accordance with the truth principles lead to increasingly negative consequences, even if they fit with people's notions at the time. People will all receive confirmation of this. You must not be subject to human constraints in anything you do, and you must not make your own determinations. You should first pray to God and seek the truth, and then explore and fellowship on the matter with everyone. What is the purpose of fellowshipping? It is so that you can do things in precise accordance with the will of God and act in line with God's will. This is a somewhat grand way of putting it, and people will fall short of this. To put it in more concrete terms, it is so that you can do things in precise accordance with the truth principles. This is rather more tangible. When a person meets this standard, they are practicing the truth and following God's will. They have the truth reality, and there will be no objections from anyone. When you encounter an issue, instead of arguing, you should first set aside your notions, imaginings, and verdicts. This is the rationality that a person should have. If there is something that I do not understand, and it is not my area of expertise, I will consult someone who is familiar with the subject. After consulting them, I will have a basic conception of the matter. However, I must seek on how to handle the matter myself. I cannot completely listen to other people, nor should I approach the matter entirely based on my own imaginings. I must seek on how to act in a way that benefits the work of the Church and accords with the truth principles. Is this not a rational way of dealing with things? Is it not the reason that a normal person should possess? Seeking and soliciting advice in this way is correct. Supposing you are knowledgeable in a certain area and I consult you about it, but afterward, you demand that I abide by what you have said and carry out your plan of action. What kind of disposition is that? It is an arrogant disposition. Now, what would be a reasonable way for you to act? You should say, I have a little knowledge in this field, but it is not related to the truth. You can just take this as a suggestion to consider, but for the specifics of how to act, you must seek more on God's will. If I seek advice from you and you really think you understand the matter, and you consider yourself extraordinary, then this is an arrogant disposition. An arrogant nature can bring about this kind of response and manifestation in you. When someone seeks advice from you, you immediately lose your rationality. You lose the reason of a normal person and are unable to make correct judgments. When someone reveals a corrupt disposition, their reason is not normal. Therefore, no matter what befalls you, even if others seek your advice, you cannot be insolent and you must possess normal reason. What is the normal way to act? At this point, you must consider, although I understand this matter, I cannot be insolent. I must approach it with the reason of normal humanity. Returning before God, you will possess the reason of normal humanity. Although, at times, you will reveal a certain sense of self-satisfaction, there will be restraint in your heart. The revelations of your corrupt disposition will be cut in half, and you will have much less of a negative influence on others. However, if you act according to your arrogant disposition, always believing you are right and consequently compelling others to listen to you, it shows an immense lack of reason. If the path that you point out to people is correct, things might be fine, but if it's wrong, that will harm them. If someone seeks advice from you on a personal matter, and you send them down the wrong road, you will only have harmed one person. However, if they ask you about a significant matter related to the work of the church, and you steer them wrong, you will have harmed the church's work, and the interests of God's house will suffer losses. If the problem is of a severe nature and it offends God's disposition, the consequences will be unimaginable. Regardless of the circumstances, as soon as corrupt thoughts and ideas begin to arise in someone, and their corrupt disposition is revealed, it is no trivial matter. If they do not seek the truth to resolve their corruption, there will be no way for it to be purified. However, if they are able to rationally seek the truth and discern the root cause of their revelations of corruption using God's words, it will be easy for them to resolve the problem of their corrupt disposition. The more you return within your spirit to wait and seek, the easier it will be for you to find the relevant words of God to discern the essence of the problem. In this way, your revelations of corruption will grow fewer and fewer. You will be able to submit to God. You will no longer speak or act based on notions and imaginings, and your humanity will become more and more normal. What is normal humanity? It is speaking and acting in a way that accords with the standards of normal humanity, conscience and reason, the truth principles, and the standards required by God. That is a manifestation of normal humanity. Therefore, no matter what befalls you, you should first calm down, quiet yourself before God, and pray to Him, seeking how to act in line with His will in that matter. People with normal humanity possess this rationality. They can restrain themselves and achieve this. It just depends on whether you are willing to practice in this way or not. If you are always trying to show off, to boast about yourself, to stand on up high, and to establish yourself as an idol in the hearts of others, then you have already strayed from God. you will be unable to return before him, and, in your heart, you are already set against him. You always want to do things based on your own ideas, and after accomplishing something, you feel as if you have achieved some great feat, engaged in some grand venture, that you are capable, not some mere ordinary person, and you seek to become superhuman and some great individual. Acting in this way is troublesome, and it is not walking the right path. People who do not pursue the truth are like this. They lack even the slightest bit of normal humanity, and they are filled with a demonic nature. Those who truly believe in God are able to accept the truth. They are willing to strive for it, and they enjoy living out normal human likeness. This requires putting effort into the truth, reading God's words often, and reading more of His words, allowing them to sink into your heart, and achieving an understanding of the truth. Your heart must be in a constant state of quietude, and when things befall you, you must not be rash, prejudiced, stubborn, radical, artificial, or fake, so that you are able to act with reason. This is the proper manifestation of normal humanity. Nowadays, most people are incapable of being rational. They brighten up when others offer them a few words of praise, and they start to believe they are not ordinary people. What kind of disposition are they revealing? Is it not an arrogant disposition? If you feel uncomfortable after someone prunes you a little and wish to argue with them and refute what they've said, what kind of disposition are you revealing? This is also a revelation of an arrogant disposition. Say that when everything you do goes smoothly for a while and people praise you, saying that you have performed well and shooting you admiring looks, you start to believe that you can do anything and that you are superior to others. You feel pleased, and when you walk down the road, you feel as if you are being carried about on a sedan chair. And yet, when you encounter setbacks in the things you do, your mood sours, and you're not able to summon any enthusiasm when speaking with other people. People like this are too willful and immature, and they lack normal humanity. What kind of manifestations do people with normal humanity display? When they suffer setbacks or are pruned, they do not become negative, and they do not let it affect their duties. Even if they endure great suffering in the course of their duties or achieve significant results, they do not think themselves worthy of praise or expect any rewards, nor do they demand the respect of others. They do not entertain such feelings. They are able to handle these matters correctly, and they possess the reason of a normal person. This is what it means to have normal humanity. When people live according to their corrupt dispositions, they will sometimes become arrogant and conceited, losing themselves in their pride. And when they suffer failures and setbacks, they will give in to despair, and their reason will become abnormal. Only by understanding the truth, casting off their corrupt disposition, and growing in life can a person's humanity mature. Understanding the truth and conducting affairs with principles are the essential conditions that people must fulfill in order for their humanity to mature. If a person does not understand the truth and does not conduct their affairs with principles, they are liable to blow hot and cold and to swing between extremes. When someone compliments them, they will become arrogant. But if someone prunes them, they will become negative. This is a manifestation of immature humanity, Is this not the state that you are in? You are always blowing hot and cold, lacking the slightest bit of stability, never able to maintain a normal state. When you are in a good mood and feeling happy, you are filled with enthusiasm, and you would even be willing to give your life for God. However, when faced with setbacks, failures, or being pruned, you immediately become negative. You abandon yourself to despair, feeling that you are completely done for, and that you have no hope of attaining salvation, and your conscience, reason, and judgment are of no use to you at all. This is what happens when people do not possess the truth. They can only live according to their satanic dispositions, involuntarily living in sin. People cannot save themselves by relying on their own knowledge and intelligence. When people don't have the truth, they do not possess the life. It is as if they have no souls. Therefore, gaining the truth is absolutely crucial. Now, when you are made to face Satan's temptation, experience setbacks and failures, or encounter adversity, what lessons should you learn? What is God's will? What does He want you to understand? He wants you to understand the truth and gain the life, thereby fundamentally resolving all of your problems. Right now, your understanding of the truth is too shallow, and your stature is too small. As a result, you are consistently in an abnormal state, and your disposition is unstable. When you are in a good state, you can move forward and progress a step further. But when you are in a bad state, you take 2 steps back and become negative for several days. This is your prevailing state, which is why you are progressing slowly. Frequently being weak and negative is the greatest obstacle to life entry, and this problem must be resolved in order for one to make progress in their life. Some people become pleased with themselves after getting just a few results in their duties, and they become arrogant after receiving compliments and look down upon others. These people are the most lacking in reason, and they do not possess the slightest truth reality. Some people start enjoying the benefits of status as soon as they accomplish a little work. Regardless of what they do, they always want to be complimented. And if they do not get any praise from others, they have no energy for performing their duties. They are constantly constrained by these things, and they only feel satisfied if they stand out from everyone else and are showered with praise. If they do not do something well, or they experience failure and stumble, they feel that they are too corrupt and beyond redemption. They always live between these extremes. If no matter what duty you perform or what befalls you, you can always learn lessons, seek the truth to find the principles of practice, and put the truth into practice, then you have grown and no longer need to be guided and led by others. If through eating and drinking God's words, fellowshipping about the truth, and experiencing some things and the environments God has arranged for you, you can see where God's hand is leading you, what God wishes you to learn, what areas He wants you to gain discernment in, and what experiential knowledge He wants you to acquire through these things and environments. And you are able to gain something through each of these experiences, then you have grown. If you always need support and assistance from others to move forward, if you become paralyzed and stagnant, or teeter between extremes, and you are liable to fall and be unable to get back up at any moment without anyone there to urge you on, guide you, or support you, These are all manifestations of having immature stature. Those with immature stature are not able to eat and drink God's words on their own, and they cannot understand the truth through listening to sermons or fellowship. They only focus on following regulations and believe that as long as they can adhere to the regulations, they are doing well. They always need someone to lead the way, to guide them in everything, and to teach them and lead them by the hand in order for them to follow. And without the help and support of others, they become paralyzed, negative, and weak. They are completely worthless, and sooner or later, they will be dead. They are trash, and they are incapable of attaining God's salvation. Some ask, is there a way to resolve the issue of my small stature? There is a way to resolve it. Regardless of what befalls you, be it a serious or trifling matter, or if it is a duty you are performing, you must remember one thing. Do not rely on fleshly feelings, your notions and imaginings, or your hot-headedness. Instead, promptly seek the truth and find out what demands God has made of man. Only by understanding God's intentions will you find a path forward. How does acting based on one's feelings manifest? The most common manifestation is when people always defend and stick up for anyone who has been kind to them, or that they are close with. For instance, say that your friend is exposed for doing something bad, and you defend them by saying, "He wouldn't do something like that. He's a good person. He must have been framed." Is this statement fair? This is acting and speaking based on one's feelings. To give another example, suppose that you get into a bit of a conflict with someone and you come to dislike them. And when they say something that is correct and in line with the principles, you don't want to listen. What is this a manifestation of?
Not accepting the truth.
Why can't you accept the truth? You know in your heart that what they said was right, but because you have a bias against them, you don't want to listen, even though you know that they're correct. What problem is this? This is laden with feelings. Some people are easily swayed by their personal preferences and emotions. If they do not get along with someone, no matter how well or correctly that person speaks, they won't listen. And if they get along well with someone, they are willing to listen to whatever they have to say, regardless of whether it is right or wrong, or whether it accords with the truth. Is this not being easily swayed by one's personal preferences and emotions? With such a disposition, can a person speak and act rationally? Can they accept the truth and submit to it? Because they are constrained by feelings and easily swayed by their emotions, it affects their adherence to the truth principles in their actions. It also affects them accepting and submitting to the truth. So, what is affecting their ability to practice and submit to the truth? By what are they constrained? Their feelings and emotions. It is these things that constrain and bind them. If you put personal relationships and self-interest first instead of the truth, then feelings are obstructing you from accepting the truth. Therefore, you must not act or speak based on feelings. Regardless of whether your relationship with someone is good or bad, or whether their words are gentle or stern, as long as what they say aligns with the truth, you should listen and accept it. This is the attitude of accepting the truth. If you say, "His fellowship accords with the truth, and he also has experience," but he is too brash and arrogant, and it's unpleasant and uncomfortable to watch. So even if he is right, I won't accept it. What kind of disposition is this? Specifically speaking, it is a feeling. When you approach people and things based upon your own preferences and emotions, this is a feeling, and this all falls under the category of feelings. Things to do with feelings belong to corrupt dispositions. Corrupt human beings all have feelings, and they are all constrained by their feelings to varying degrees. If a person cannot accept the truth, it will be difficult for them to resolve the problem of feelings. Some people shield false leaders, protect antichrists, and speak up for and defend evil people. There are feelings involved in all of these cases. Of course, in some cases, those people are just acting in that way due to their evil nature. These problems need to be fellowshipped about frequently in order for you to gain clarity on them. Some people may say, "I just have some feelings toward my family and friends, but not toward anyone else." This statement is not accurate. If others show you even some small favor, you will develop feelings toward them. There will be varying degrees of closeness and depth, but they are feelings nonetheless. If people do not resolve their feelings, it will be difficult for them to practice the truth and achieve submission to God. Let us now talk about notions and imaginings. Some notions and imaginings come from one's family upbringing, some from social conditioning, and others come from one's education in school. What are the manifestations of treating people and conducting affairs according to one's notions and imaginings? Let me give you an example. Take the case of a person who, after many years of believing in God, is able to forsake things and perform their duties with enthusiasm, and is later selected as a leader. After gaining this new status, they put even more energy into performing their duties, and often hold gatherings to fellowship with people on the truth. When brothers and sisters have problems, they promptly resolve them, and everyone has a good impression of them. However, after serving as a leader for a period of time, this person begins to work to preserve their status and power, showing off and flaunting themselves at every turn. Most grievously of all, they promote and cultivate evil people to serve as leaders and workers. Most detestably, they suppress and exclude brothers and sisters who pursue the truth. In the end, because they have performed a multitude of evil deeds and disturbed the church's work, they are characterized as an antichrist and expelled. On hearing the news, some people blurt out, "That can't be. We used to get along very well. We successfully spread the gospel to quite a few people together. How could he become an antichrist?" They form certain notions toward God's house's handling of the situation, believing it to have treated a good person unjustly. Tell me, why do they defend this antichrist and complain about the supposed injustice done to him? Because they are familiar with him. They used to spread the gospel together. They never imagined that after becoming a leader, he would show his true colors, committing all kinds of evil and becoming an antichrist. They fail to accept that which they did not imagine. So tell me, are they not viewing this person based on their notions and imaginings? They conclude that he could not possibly have become an antichrist based upon the vague impression they have of him from the past. Is this a correct viewpoint? Why would they think this way and draw such conclusions? Why do they make these irresponsible remarks and careless determinations when they do not understand the reality of the situation? This is a kind of disposition. People approach and handle people, events, and things according to their imaginings. What kind of disposition is this? It is partly arrogance and partly intransigence. What you reveal in your everyday life, be it your thoughts and beliefs, your actions, or the principles you abide by in your treatment of other people, all of these derive from your corrupt dispositions, and you must hold them up against the truth for comparison. If, when you are asked to do this, you become confused, this is problematic. It means you do not have any knowledge of the truth. What effect does the truth have?
It can resolve one's corrupt dispositions.
How does it resolve them? You must hold up the reality of your everyday thoughts, beliefs, words, and actions against the truth for comparison. Once you find that they match up, you will be able to identify where your problems lie. If you are unable to identify your problems, or if you do not accept God's words and the truth, and you make irresponsible remarks based upon your notions and imaginings, what kind of problem do you have? It is one of arrogance and irrationality, and this relates to your corrupt disposition. Without knowing the facts, you just speak carelessly based on your own imaginings, and even think, "You don't know him, but I do. I understand." What you really mean is that you can see more clearly and more accurately than anyone else. Is this not arrogance? Is this not self-righteous? This kind of disposition lies deep within you, so you always speak and act based upon your own notions and imaginings. For instance, say that the church wants to undertake some project and asks you how much it would cost, and, without having any actual understanding of the situation, you immediately blurt out, "That'll cost you at least 100,000. Everyone is shocked when they hear this, thinking that it could not possibly cost that much, and that you must be exaggerating. What consequences might the work of the church suffer as a result of your disposition of speaking carelessly and making irresponsible remarks? In reality, it would not take much at all to get the job done, yet you claim that it would cost 100,000. Is this not speaking irresponsibly? Does this not cause harm to the church? Is this a reliable way to speak and handle affairs? No, it is incredibly unreliable. God's house absolutely cannot use a person like this in its work. Is there a lesson to be learned from this situation? One should learn to be honest and speak true words. This is the key to performing one's duty well. If someone is dishonest and makes irresponsible remarks, they are not suited to perform duties, nor do they deserve to perform duties in God's house. Thus, to perform one's duty well, one must learn to be an honest person, to take responsibility for everything one says, and refrain from speaking irresponsibly, without thinking, and based upon one's own imaginings. One should be accurate in the way they speak, and one's words should align with the facts. This is one aspect of the reality of being an honest person. Have you all realized that you have an arrogant disposition?
Yes. Sometimes I exaggerate and say things that lack reason. I feel that I am very arrogant, and that this is an aspect of my nature essence.
Once you have recognized that you have an arrogant disposition, how should you resolve it? You will not be able to resolve your arrogant disposition just because you have recognized and acknowledged it. To resolve your arrogant disposition, you must first accept the truth. Accept the judgment and chastisement of God's words. Come to understand the many ways your arrogant disposition manifests as exposed by God's words, and which satanic poisons are causing them, and identify which devilish words have misled you and given rise to your arrogant disposition. These are the things you must come to understand. When resolving your arrogant disposition, you should take things one step at a time, resolving things as they are revealed. In this way, your arrogant disposition will gradually be resolved. The most common state, seen among those living within an arrogant disposition, is their tendency to speak based on their own imaginings and exaggerate. It is by first resolving this state of making exaggerated claims that their arrogant disposition can be diminished somewhat. Now, how can the problem of making exaggerated claims based on one's imaginings be resolved? One must first clearly discern what it means to make exaggerated claims based upon one's imaginings. First, one must figure out, how do imaginings arise? Why do people constantly have imaginings? What do they base their imaginings on? Do these imaginings represent reality? Do these imaginings align with the truth? Then, one must clearly discern the issue of making exaggerated claims. One must discern why and from what position they make these exaggerated claims, and the goal they are intent on achieving. Once answers to these questions are found, and the problem is resolved according to the truth, this state of making exaggerated claims based on one's own imaginings can be resolved somewhat. Consider, for instance, that a leader asks you to look into something, but because you're busy with something else, you forget to do so. Later, when the leader asks you about it, you just make something up, fearing that you will be pruned. What kind of disposition does this reveal? There are two types of states at play here. Speaking carelessly based on your imaginings is one state. Making something up because you are unable to come up with an answer and are afraid of being pruned is another. If you're not speaking carelessly, you're telling lies. And if you're not being arrogant and conceited, you're being deceitful. All of these things spell trouble and must be examined. When speaking and acting, as soon as you realize that you are about to reveal your corrupt disposition, you must restrain yourself and pray to God in your heart. So, how should you act in order to be in accordance with the truth principles? This relates to one's practice.
Speak honestly and only say what we know.
This is correct. If you do not know the answer, you should say, "I do not have knowledge of this matter. I haven't looked into it yet." Suppose that you think to yourself, "What if my leader asks me why I haven't looked into the issue yet and prunes me? What should I do then?" Tell me, how should you practice in this situation?
If we haven't looked into the issue, we should just say so. We shouldn't lie just because we're afraid of being pruned.
That's right. If you wish to lie, to trick people, or to speak counter to the facts just because you are afraid of being pruned, then you should pray to God, reflect on yourself, and practice being an honest person. In this way, your problem of speaking based upon your imaginings will dwindle. However, it is not enough just to resolve this problem of speaking based upon your imaginings. You must gain an even deeper understanding of yourself. Not only must you recognize your corrupt dispositions, you must also understand your satanic nature and the source of your arrogance. If you are able to achieve this, you will be more than halfway to resolving your arrogant disposition. At the very least, you will not become arrogant and will be more humble in how you act. If you can go a step further and resolve your problem of telling lies and tricking others, if you can speak according to the truth and the facts, and be an honest person and say what is on your mind, you will more or less be living out human likeness. At the very least, you will speak and act in a more rational way. This shows that as long as people pursue the truth, submit to God's work, and pray and rely upon Him, they will be entirely capable of casting off their corrupt dispositions. Those with an arrogant disposition often make exaggerated claims, always thinking they are better than others. They believe themselves to be lofty and imposing figures, and that everyone else is beneath them, and they speak and act however they please. If they are also capable of using any means necessary to achieve their ends, frequently resorting to lying and tricking others, then these individuals are not only arrogant and conceited, they also possess a deceitful disposition. Resolving an arrogant and conceited disposition primarily depends on coming to know your own nature essence and seeing that you have become arrogant and conceited due to being too thoroughly corrupted and living like the devil Satan. When you can see this matter clearly, you will feel that the more arrogant someone is, the more satanic they are. Alternatively, through experiencing failures and setbacks, you will become much better behaved. Is it easier to resolve an arrogant disposition or a deceitful disposition? In reality, neither is easy to resolve, but when compared with a deceitful disposition, an arrogant disposition is a little easier to resolve. Resolving a deceitful disposition will be much more difficult. This is because deceitful individuals are so full of evil motives and intents that their conscience and reason fail to restrain them. This is a problem with their nature essence. Yet, regardless of how difficult it may be, if one wants to resolve their deceitful disposition, they must start by practicing being an honest person. Ultimately, the simplest way to practice being an honest person is to simply tell things like they are, speak honest words, and speak according to the facts. As the Lord Jesus said, "But let your communication be, yes, yes, no, no." Being an honest person requires practicing according to this principle. After training at this for a few years, you will certainly see results. How do you practice being an honest person now?
I do not adulterate what I say, and I do not trick others.
What does not adulterate mean? It means that the words you speak do not contain lies or any personal intents or motives. If you harbor trickery or personal intents and motives within your heart, then lies will naturally pour forth from you. If you have no trickery or personal intents or motives within your heart, then what you say will be unadulterated and will not contain lies. In this way, your communication will be yes, yes, no, no. the most crucial thing is to first purify one's heart. Once one's heart is purified, one's arrogance and deceitfulness will be resolved. To be an honest person, one must resolve these adulterations. After having done so, it will be easy to be an honest person. Is being an honest person complicated? No, it is not. No matter what your internal state is, or what corrupt dispositions you may have, you should practice the truth of being an honest person. You must first resolve the problem of telling lies. This is most important. Firstly, in speaking, you should practice speaking what is on your mind, speaking true words, telling it like it is, and refrain from lying completely. You should not even speak words that are adulterated, and you should ensure that everything you say throughout the day is truthful and honest. In doing so, you are practicing the truth and practicing being an honest person. If you find that lies or adulterated words pour forth from you, promptly reflect on yourself and dissect and gain awareness of the reasons why you lie and what is commanding you to lie. Then, based on God's words, dissect this underlying and essential problem. Once you gain clarity on the root cause of your lies, you will be able to rebel against this satanic disposition in your speech and actions. You will no longer resort to lies when faced with similar situations, and you will be able to speak according to the facts and no longer engage in deceptive speech. In this way, your spirit will be freed and liberated, and you will be able to live before God. If you are able to live according to God's words, you are living in the light. However, if you constantly engage in deceit, plotting and scheming, always hiding like a thief in dark corners, and conducting your affairs secretly, then you will not dare to live before God. Because you have secret motives, always want to trick others to achieve your own goals, and harbor too many shameful and unspeakable things in your heart, you constantly try to hide and conceal them, to package them up and disguise them, but you cannot conceal these things forever. Sooner or later, they will come to light. A person who has secret motives is unable to live in the light. If they do not practice self-reflection, dissecting themselves and laying themselves bare, they will be unable to break free from the constraint and bondage of their corrupt dispositions. They will remain trapped in a life of sin, unable to extricate themselves. Ultimately, in any situation, you must not lie. If you know that lying is wrong and does not accord with the truth, yet you insist on lying and tricking others, even making things up to conceal the facts and the reality of the situation in order to misguide people, then you are intentionally engaging in wrongdoing. Such a person cannot attain salvation from God. God bestows the truth upon people, but whether individuals can accept and practice the truth is ultimately their own business. Those who are able to accept the truth can attain salvation from God, while those who aren't able to accept the truth and do not practice the truth cannot. Many people are aware that they live in their corrupt dispositions and recognize that those who live according to satanic dispositions resemble neither humans nor demons, and fail to live out normal human likeness. They are willing to practice the truth, but find themselves unable to do so, feeling simply powerless. In such a situation, one can only pray to God and rely on Him. If individuals do not cooperate at all, God will not work within them. Those who truly love the truth will certainly detest their deceitful disposition, all manner of personal intents, as well as lies and trickery. They would rather suffer losses by speaking honestly than resort to lying. They would choose to speak truthfully, even if it leads to judgment and condemnation, rather than dragging out an ignoble existence telling lies. Those who can despise satanic dispositions in this way are naturally able to rebel against the flesh, practice the truth, and succeed in becoming honest people.